Hello! The year is 2563, 300 years after the end of the Great War. Cyborgs live alongside humans in the Iron City, dreaming of getting to the only surviving Sky City of Salem, going through a brutal competition called Motorball to do so. Dr. Dyson Ito is a cyber surgeon who helps robots repair their damaged bodies. One day, while searching for parts at a junkyard, he finds the remains of a cyborg girl dropped from the Sky City, given a second life. Alita remembers absolutely nothing of her past. She lives like an ordinary teenager and meets her love. But it turns out that her chosen one guts cyborgs for a living, and she herself is a perfect killing machine. Cyber surgeon Ito Dyson explores the junkyard of the celestial city of Salem in search of parts for biorobotics. An unexpected find for him, among all the junk, are the remains of a cyborg girl with an almost human brain still functioning. Ito brings her to his lab, where he successfully performs an operation to connect her to a new body. The next day, the girl wakes up in a nursery. She's stunned by the unfamiliar body she sees in the mirror. Next to it are clothes that somebody prepared for her. The girl goes downstairs and sees the mechanic and Nurse Gerhardt at work. They are repairing a cyborg. Meeting his patient, Ito checks her well-being and sensitivity of her receptors. He offers the girl to eat an orange. It turns out that all systems are working perfectly, except for her memory. The girl can't even remember her own name. To brighten the patient's sadness, Ito takes her outside, and the impressions of the amazing flying city of Salem and Iron City bring her to her senses. Seeing the doctor's name on the sign, the cyborg wants to know her own, and Ito calls her Alita. On the walk, the doctor tells Alita that after the Great War, that ended 300 years ago, Salem is the only remaining Sky City, and all the survivors from other cities have settled in the Iron City and work for Salem. Yet nobody's allowed to go up there. On the screen, Alita sees a broadcast of a brutal game called Motorball. Ito goes into a store and leaves the girl alone. In the meantime, she meets a guy named Hugo, who rescues her from a Centurion. He is very nice to Alita, and is looking at her perfect cyber arm with interest when the doctor shows up. Ito and Hugo work together. The guy gets him various parts for cyborgs. The new acquaintance arouses Alita's genuine interest. At night, the girl wakes up to strange noises. Looking through the doorway, she sees Dr. Ito returning with a bloody hand and locking himself in his room. In the morning, everything is back to normal. The doctor repairs cyborgs, and Alita and Gerhardt assist him. Ito explains to Alita that cyborgs are robbed of body parts necessary for motorball players. In addition, one of the patients tells him that a murder had occurred in the evening.
I heard that guy carves girls up and sells their body parts.
Because of this, Ito strictly orders Alita to always return home before dark. The girl goes for a walk in town, where an unknown woman catches her by the hand. Turns out it's the doctor's ex-wife, Chirin. Later, they go for a walk together and discuss a long-time family tragedy. The body that Ito gave to Alita was meant for their daughter, who died many years ago. Walking through the back alleys of the city, Alita encounters motorball players and sees Hugo among them. The guy invites her to join the game. The girl gets up on her skates, but on the first lap, she doesn't fit into the turn and flies off the track, and then eventually gets knocked out of the game by the smug Tanji. Having figured out the rules, on the second lap, Alita easily takes the ball from him and masterfully throws it into the ring, taking her revenge. After the game, Hugo offers the girl a ride home. On the way, he drops her off at a candy store and treats her to chocolate, the taste of which Alita immediately loves. He also shows her a hunter named Zappin in the crowd, who is searching for his prey. Alita notices an elaborate sword hanging from his hip. On the first day after Ito's request to get home early, the girl returns after dark, much to the doctor's indignation. The next day, Hugo and Alita spend time together. The boy takes her to an abandoned skyscraper with the best view of Salem and tells her about his dream of going there one day. Hugo assumes that Alita is from the Sky City because the doc found her at the scrapyard where the garbage from the city ends up. However, she has no memories of it.
I keep trying to remember, but it's still a blank.
At night, Alita has trouble sleeping again, and she sees the doctor wearing a hat and a cloak going somewhere with a large suitcase. The girl decides to follow him and catches him sitting in an ambush with a huge axe. She realizes that he is the murderer who takes apart cyborgs for parts at night. Alita stops him from attacking. However, things are not as they looked at first glance. Ito hid the fact that he was a licensed hunter of criminal cyborgs, one of whom, Griwishka, had set a trap for him. Realizing that her maker is in mortal danger, Alita engages in combat and easily takes out her opponent's accomplices, and then attacks Griwishka himself. During the fight, she starts remembering her past life. After forcing the enemy to flee back to his lair, Alita and Ito go to the factory, where the doctor is rewarded for his work. On the way home, the girl forces him to reveal all his secrets, including for whom he created the body given to her. Ito tells of his disabled daughter named Alita. He created this body for her. However, one of his patients, a motorball player with an unthinkably strong body, broke into the clinic at night and killed the girl. After the tragedy, his wife left him. That's when Ito became a hunter to, first of all, get revenge on the murderer. The injured Griwishka comes to Chirin for help. A woman discovers a telepresence chip in her head, and Nova, the Watcher of Zalem, immediately gets in touch with her and Vector. He tells her that the power of the cyborg who crushed Griwishka lies not in her body, but in her brain, as she knows the ancient Panzerkunst combat technique. The Watcher orders Chirin and Vector to restore Griwishka, to kill the cyborg girl and bring her to Zalem. Meanwhile, Alita declares to Ito that she too wants to become a warrior hunter, as she believes that fighting will help her remember her past. Having not received support from the doctor, she runs away, saying that she will become a hunter without his help. Leaving the doctor behind, Alita sets off to watch a motorball game with Hugo. Hugo has connections there and takes the girl backstage, where she catches the eye of Chirin and Vector. Turns out that the latter is the organizer of the championship. In the midst of the game, Hugo suddenly dumps his girlfriend, arranging to meet her the next day. He goes on a mission with his friends. It turns out that they're the same scrap hunters who gut cyborgs and sell their parts for motorball players, and Hugo is forced to hide it from Alita.
Hey, when you tell your hard-body jack cyborgs, huh?
I'm not. And neither are you.
The next day, Hugo takes Alita to the countryside, where a ship shot down in the Battle of Zalem lies buried in a lake. The boy thinks it will help his friend remember her past, and his hunch proves correct. The cyborg girl easily gets into the command area, and unlocking the protected compartment enters a code. It gives her access to the perfect cyber body, which Alita brings ashore. She takes it to the doctor's lab and asks that her body be replaced with a new one. But the cyber surgeon refuses to do this,
I feel a connection to it. I can't explain. This could be who I am.
which infuriates Alita. The girl demands that the doctor reveal everything he knows. Ito gives in and tells her that the body she found on the ship is a berserker, a humanoid weapon. It was berserks who wielded the Panzerkunst combat technique she is using now, so Alita is the most advanced weapon ever created. After hearing this, the girl goes to the factory to get a hunter's license, which she receives without any difficulty. And together with Hugo, she arrives at the bar for hunter warriors. The narcissistic Zappin introduces her to his colleagues, and at the end tells her about himself and his legendary weapon, a Damascus blade that cuts through armor like butter. Alita urges the hunters to fight against Griwishka, but receives only taunts in return. To stop them, she first has to break Zappin's nose, and then beat up the rest of the hunters. The quarrel is ended by Ito, who appears and tries to lead Alita away, when suddenly, an updated Griwishka tears down the doors of the establishment. He came at Vector's command to bring the girl back, dead or alive. The large robot is protected by people in power, and there is no bounty for his head, so all hunters retreat before him, accepting the villain's challenge. Alita sets out after him into the underground, and is defeated in an unequal struggle. But the memory of her mentor's words compels Alita to fight on, using only one hand to knock Griwishka's eye out. And that's when help finally arrives. Dr. Ito brings Alita's remains to the lab and gives her a new body, which, once connected to her brain, instantly makes adjustments to all microsystems. Upon waking up, the Berserker explores her new abilities with joy. Afterwards, Alita immediately goes to meet Hugo. The pair leave their friends and, left alone, kiss for the first time. The battered Griwishka finds himself back in Chirin's lab. Through Vector, Nova, the Watcher, contacts him and demands that he get Alita's heart. Vector does not agree to entrust this mission to a piece of scrap metal again, and a human cunning comes into play. He decides to use Hugo to get close to the target. Alita, in love, shows up at Hugo's place in the morning. When asked about his condition, the boy replies that he had a drink with Vector. The girl learns that it is Vector who will be Hugo's guide to get to Zalem. However, the guy admits that if before he simply didn't have enough money to fulfill his cherished dream, now with the appearance of Alita, he is lost and doesn't know what to do. Upon learning that Hugo is only 90,000 short of his goal, she offers him her heart, but the boy refuses.
Don't just do things for people.
Later, Hugo reveals to his friend exactly what he talked to Vector about. He suggests that Alita try her hand at a motorball league. She could become a real star, and then the way to Zalem is open for her and Hugo. Under the pressure of her lover, the cyborg girl agrees to try it out. Before the screening in the locker room, Ito prepares Alita, and Vector announces a special condition to the rest of the participants: a $5,000 reward for whoever kills the cyborg girl. Hugo rushes to the screening, before which he stops by his scrap hunter friends who are gutting yet another cyborg to inform them that he is out of the business now. He gets into a conflict with Tanji, in which the vengeful Zappin intervenes. Alita made him look like a laughingstock, and now he wants to hurt her in return, to take away her love by setting things up so that Hugo is declared a murderer and is hunted down. At this time, the screening begins. Dr. Ito sees hunters and criminals among the teams, realizing that this is a trap, and warns Alita of the deadly danger. After a confident start, the girl masterfully deals with dangerous opponents one by one, and in the midst of the brawl, she receives a distress call from Hugo, who is pursued by Zappin. Alita leaves the racetrack, and the mercenaries follow her. Having found herself in danger for a moment, the cyborg eventually defeats her pursuers, and gets in time to Hugo, over whom Zappin has already drawn his Damascus sword. All of a sudden, the girl sees an alert on the screen with a photo of Hugo, indicating that he is a wanted murderer. The cunning Zappin manages to deceive Alita, and Hugo's explanations do not work. The hunter continues provoking the girl.
You know there's no room for love or mercy in the Hunter's Code.
And seeing Alita's indecision, he plunges the sword into Hugo's stomach himself. Alita takes the wounded boy to the temple, where on the brink of death, Hugo confesses his love for her. This scene is watched by Chirin, who was sent to search for the runaway girl, but what she sees forces her to change her mind. She reports to Vector that she wasn't able to find Alita and volunteers to help her. To the Centurions, Alita emerged with Hugo's severed head, discreetly attached to her heart by wires. Only Zappin understands this trick and pounces on the girl. For this, the Centurions immediately accuse him of violating the Hunter's Code, which gives Alita the right to defend herself. After cutting off the handsome man's precious face, Alita quietly walks away. At the lab, Ito tells Alita that Vector has been deceiving Hugo. The only way to get into Salem is to become a motorball champion. Ito and Chirin brilliantly perform an operation to attach Hugo to his new body, for which Dr. Chirin gets brutally punished. The enraged Alita goes to the factory, easily bypassing the guards. She bursts into Vector's office, who meets her in the company of Gruishka, and from his painful blow, Alita is filled with unexpected memories again.
Finish the mission. Destroy Salem.
After chopping Gruishka to pieces, Alita forces the Overlord of Salem, the Watcher Nova, to contact her. By broadcasting through Vector, he threatens the cyborg that he will go after her, Hugo, and all the people she cares about. Alita expresses her rage by stabbing Vector with her blade. Dr. Ito, meanwhile, informs her that the deception with Hugo has been uncovered and he is wanted, while the guy himself tries to get to Salem by climbing one of the huge tubes. Alita manages to stop him, but Nova sees this and launches a chopping ring to kill two birds with one stone. Hugo does not make it out of this mess alive. Since that day, for months on end, Alita has been competing in motorball with one goal in mind: to become Supreme Champion and make it to Salem. Meanwhile, Nova will be intently watching her. As always, you'll find the name of the movie in the description of the video. And in the comments, let us know what you think. Will Alita manage to get to Salem and find out what awaits her there? And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next awesome retelling.